My name is Bonnie J. Jensen. I was about 29 when a 6-year relationship ended because of one sentence. I'm a senior systems architect, which means most of my professional life revolves around logic, redundancy, and making sure that if one component fails, the rest of the system survives. For years, I applied that same philosophy to my relationship with Caleb. I thought I was building something solid. Instead, I eventually discovered I had been paying the mortgage on a house of cards. For 6 years, I was the provider. That isn't arrogance. It was simply the math of our relationship. I earned in the top tier of my field. Caleb had spent 4 years building what he called his lifestyle consulting brand. In reality, my salary paid for our $4,000 a month downtown apartment, the lease on his luxury SUV, his health insurance, and most of the meals he photographed for his followers. I didn't resent it. I loved him. Or at least, I loved the man I remembered from when we were 23, sharing a tiny studio apartment that smelled like cheap pizza and ambition. I remembered working overtime at my first junior tech job so I could buy him the professional camera he insisted would help launch his career. 2 years before everything collapsed, I even wrote an $18,000 check for his mother Linda's knee surgery. I never asked for the money back. Linda barely thanked me. As my career grew, Caleb changed. The more comfortable our lives became, the less he seemed to respect the person creating that comfort. At dinner parties, he started making jokes. "Bonnie is ridiculously consistent," he once said, swirling wine I had paid for. "She's like a reliable dishwasher. Same thing every day." Our friends laughed awkwardly. Caleb smiled. "For someone like me, it can be a little much. I need fire." I smiled too. I told myself he was joking. That became my specialty, explaining away disrespect. Then he joined an expensive gym through my membership. That was where he met Marissa. She was a personal trainer and self-described wellness entrepreneur. Younger than me, sculpted, confident, and apparently endlessly exciting. Suddenly, Caleb stayed on his phone until 2 in the morning. Blue light would glow across his face while he smiled at messages. "Who keeps texting you?" He would immediately become defensive. "God, Bonnie, it's Marissa. She's helping with my macros." Then came the accusation. "Your insecurity is getting exhausting." But I wasn't insecure. I was observant. His phone was suddenly always face down. He bought expensive new underwear that I never saw him wear around me. He started spending longer at the gym. Then came the Tuesday that broke everything. I returned home around 8 after finishing a brutal project sprint. Caleb was sprawled across the sofa staring at his phone. "Dinner's in the fridge," he said without looking up. "Kale salad. Marissa has me doing a cleanse." "I actually thought we could go out." He sighed. "I closed a huge contract today. I wanted to celebrate." "Bonnie, you close contracts all the time. That's literally your job." Then his phone buzzed. The screen tilted toward me. A photograph appeared. Marissa. Gym locker room. Sports bra. Underneath it. "Thinking about our session today. Can't wait for the next one." My chest tightened. "Caleb." He looked up impatiently. "Who is Marissa really?" "I already told you." "She's sending you half-dressed pictures." He rolled his eyes. "So? Are you sleeping with her?" Caleb didn't look ashamed. That was the detail I remember most clearly. He looked annoyed. Then he leaned back, picked up his phone, and started typing directly in front of me. "Bonnie, you're overreacting." I stared at him. He smirked. "I haven't replaced you yet." For a moment, I thought I had misheard him. "What?" "I'm exploring my options." He shrugged. "A man like me needs to know he's with the best. You're the stable choice." Then he smiled. "But Marissa is exciting." Something inside me went completely silent. "You haven't replaced me yet?" I repeated. "Exactly." He returned his attention to his phone. "So go eat your salad and calm down. You're being incredibly boring right now." I didn't yell. I didn't ask for his phone. I walked into the bedroom, grabbed my spare keys, passport, laptop, important documents, and the travel bag I kept packed for emergencies. Caleb barely noticed me leave. 1 hour later, my phone rang. Where the hell are you? He demanded. Hotel. My card is getting declined. Did you mess with the account? I removed you as an authorized user. Silence. You can't do that. How am I supposed to live? I looked out the hotel window. I'm giving you time to find your replacement without me in the way. Bonnie, wait. Goodbye, Caleb. I hung up. Then I blocked him. He thought I had simply walked out after an argument. He had no idea that by the next afternoon, the life I had been financing for him would begin disappearing too. For the next 48 hours, I operated on pure clarity. The relationship was over. Now I needed to separate the infrastructure of our lives. The apartment came first. I was the only person whose name appeared on the lease, so I called the landlord, paid the early termination fee, and covered the remaining 3 months. It was expensive, but peace suddenly felt more valuable than money. The next morning, while Caleb was at the gym with Marissa, I hired a moving crew and met them at the apartment. Walking through those rooms felt like touring a museum dedicated to my own bad decisions. The $6,000 Italian sofa was mine. The 75-inch television was mine. Most of the kitchen equipment, artwork, electronics, and furniture had been purchased with my money. In 3 hours, almost everything I owned was gone. I left Caleb his clothes, the master bed, and his personal belongings. Everything else went into a climate-controlled storage unit. By early afternoon, the apartment sounded hollow. I left the lease termination notice on the kitchen counter, along with the storage facility information. Beside it, I placed a check for $500. Enough for a few nights somewhere while he figured out his next move. Around 6 that evening, his mother Linda called. Bonnie, have you lost your mind? Caleb came home and almost everything is gone. I moved out. You terminated the apartment? Yes. Where is he supposed to live? I almost smiled. That sounds like something Caleb should discuss with Marissa. Linda's voice rose immediately. You supported him for 6 years. You can't just abandon him. I'm not abandoning him. He told me he was exploring his options and that I was only the stable choice. That was obviously something he said during an argument. He said it while texting another woman in front of me. Silence. Then Linda tried another approach. Relationships require forgiveness. They also require respect. Bonnie, I've simply removed the stable option so Caleb can fully enjoy the exciting one. I hung up and blocked her. Over the next 3 months, I didn't need to investigate what happened. Our social circle was small enough that information reached me naturally. Caleb moved into Marissa's apartment. The reality wasn't nearly as glamorous as he had imagined. Marissa's wellness entrepreneur lifestyle was mostly branding. She shared a cramped apartment with a roommate, had no meaningful savings, and relied heavily on clients for access to expensive social circles. Apparently, she had assumed Caleb was wealthy because of the SUV, designer clothes, restaurants, and downtown apartment. What she hadn't realized was that almost everything she found attractive about his lifestyle had been financed by me. Once I disappeared, so did most of the illusion. Meanwhile, I leaned deliberately into the life Caleb had mocked as boring. I accepted a VP position in a city 2 hours away. The promotion came with more responsibility, better money, and something even more valuable: a clean break. I bought a modern penthouse overlooking the river. Glass, steel, quiet rooms, no clutter. I worked. I hiked on weekends. I went to the theater alone. For the first time in years, silence didn't feel like someone was punishing me. It felt peaceful. Then the messages began. Caleb couldn't reach me normally, so he started using burner accounts. One arrived at 11:45 p.m. Bonnie, please. Marissa pushed me tonight. She's unstable. I'm staying at a motel. I know I said horrible things, but I was trying to get a reaction from you. Doesn't 6 years mean anything? I read it once. Then another came several nights later. I saw your LinkedIn. VP now. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. Can we talk? I'll go to therapy. I'll change. I'll do anything. I was sitting on my balcony when I read that one, looking over the river. Months earlier, I would have dropped everything to rescue him. Now I felt no urge at all. If a building has a failed foundation, you don't move back inside because the person standing in the rubble suddenly promises renovations. Eventually, Caleb recruited his brother, Dave. Dave called one evening. He's a mess, Bonnie. He corrected himself quickly. Caleb wants to know if you'd consider helping him financially. Helping him how? A settlement. Enough to start over. I laughed quietly. For what? He says you were together 6 years. He gave you his best years. That sentence almost impressed me. Dave, Caleb told me I was replaceable. I know. He wanted a more exciting life. I know. So tell him the charity is over. Dave sighed. I figured you'd say that. I genuinely hope he gets himself together. But you're not coming back. No. I ended the call and went back to my life. 6 months after leaving Caleb, I wasn't merely recovering, I was flourishing. And that was when I met Adrian. He was a civil engineer, sharp, grounded, and possessed of the driest sense of humor I had ever encountered. Where Caleb had treated my logical mind like a character flaw, Adrian understood it almost instinctively. Our first disagreement was over the structural design of a pedestrian bridge. Our first date lasted 4 hours. And for once, being predictable didn't make me feel inadequate. It made me feel understood. I didn't know it yet, but Adrian would soon become much more than the man who helped me remember what partnership felt like. And Caleb was about to see exactly what he had thrown away. Adrian entered my life without drama, which at first almost felt suspicious. He was a civil engineer, sharp, grounded, and dryly funny. Where Caleb had mocked my love of systems and structure, Adrian understood it. Our first disagreement was over the design of a pedestrian bridge. Our first date lasted 4 hours. For once, I didn't feel like I had to become more exciting to keep someone interested. Adrian liked that I woke at 6, planned ahead, and kept emergency chargers in every bag. You're basically human infrastructure, he joked once. That sounds romantic. It is to an engineer. 6 months after leaving Caleb, my life looked completely different. I had the penthouse, the VP position, and a relationship that actually felt mutual. Caleb, meanwhile, continued trying to reach me. The messages became increasingly desperate. One night, another burner account appeared. Bonnie, Marissa cheated on me. I know what you're thinking. I deserve it. Maybe I do. But I understand now. Please just talk to me. I deleted it. A week later, I was scared of losing you, so I acted like I didn't care. I know that makes no sense. I'll go to therapy. I'll change everything. I deleted that too. Then his brother Dave called again. He really is struggling. I'm sorry to hear that. He keeps saying 6 years should count for something. They do? Dave sounded surprised. They taught me exactly what I'll never tolerate again. There was nothing else to say. Time moved on. Adrian and I became serious naturally. No games, no jealousy tests, no threats about replacements. Eventually, he proposed. Months later, we attended the City Architecture Awards Gala together. It was the biggest professional night of my year because I had been invited as a keynote speaker. The ballroom overlooked downtown, filled with architects, engineers, executives, and city officials. Adrian stood beside me near the mezzanine railing wearing a dark suit. I was holding a drink when he leaned closer. You're calculating the load-bearing capacity of this floor, aren't you? I laughed. Actually, I was thinking the scotch is better than expected. That's growth. Then I saw someone near the entrance. Caleb. He wore a gold jacket I recognized immediately. I had bought it for his birthday 3 years earlier. It didn't look glamorous anymore. Neither did he. He seemed thinner, almost hollowed out. His eyes searched the room until they found me. Then he started walking toward us. Adrian noticed my expression. The ex? The ghost. Want me to stay? Yes. Caleb reached us breathless. Bonnie. I kept my voice neutral. Caleb. His eyes moved over me. You look incredible. I saw you speaking earlier. I was so proud. I actually told someone. That's my Bonnie. It's just Bonnie now. His smile faltered. What are you doing here? I'm trying to get back into the professional scene. He glanced at Adrian, then quickly looked back at me. It's been hard. I heard. I think about that Tuesday every day. I said nothing. I was stupid, Caleb continued. I was terrified of how much I loved you. That almost made me laugh. So you told me you were searching for my replacement? I was trying to get your attention. You had my attention for 6 years. His eyes filled. I wanted to know if you still cared. And I cared enough to believe exactly what you told me. He stepped closer. That proves there was something worth saving. I turned slightly toward Adrian. Caleb, this is Adrian. Adrian extended his hand politely. Then I added, my fiancé. Caleb froze. Fiancé? The word seemed to hit him physically. You're engaged? Yes. It hasn't even been that long. It's been long enough. His expression hardened. So you really replaced me? No. I looked directly at him. You told me I was replaceable. There's a difference. Caleb's eyes flicked toward Adrian. You traded me in for a better model. Adrian isn't a replacement. I took Adrian's hand. He's my partner. Caleb's vulnerability disappeared. The familiar contempt returned. You think you're better than me now, don't you? No. You've got your penthouse, your promotion, your engineer fiancé. His voice rose enough that nearby people began noticing. You're still the same boring Bonnie. There it was. The old insult. Once it would have hurt. Now it sounded almost childish. You know what? He continued. I gave your life excitement. Without me, you'd spend every evening staring at spreadsheets. I smiled faintly. Maybe. Caleb blinked. But the difference is, I finally realized peace isn't something I need to apologize for. His jaw tightened. You'll regret this when he gets bored of you. Adrian remained silent beside me. Caleb pointed toward him. When he decides you're too predictable, you'll remember the only man who actually challenged you. I looked at Caleb and felt something remarkable. Nothing. No anger. No longing. No desire to prove myself. So I borrowed his own words. Caleb, you're overreacting. He froze. I haven't fully moved on from the memory of us yet. For 1 second, hope flashed across his face. Then I continued. But I expect to be completely finished by the time I finish this sentence. I paused. There. Done. Caleb stared at me. You're officially a legacy system, unsupported, outdated, and removed from the current build. Adrian coughed into his hand, hiding a laugh. Caleb's face turned red. Bonnie, please. Goodbye, Caleb. I turned away. Then the announcer's voice filled the ballroom. And the award for urban innovation goes to Bonnie J. Jensen. Applause erupted. Adrian squeezed my hand. Go. I walked toward the stage. By the time I reached the microphone and looked back across the ballroom, Caleb was disappearing toward the exit. For 6 years, he had called me boring because stability wasn't enough for him. Now, surrounded by people applauding the life I had built, I finally understood something. Stable was never the insult he thought it was. The award gala was the last time I saw Caleb in person. After I walked onto the stage, the applause swallowed everything else. I accepted the Urban Innovation Award, gave a short speech about building systems that could survive pressure, and for the first time, that metaphor didn't feel like something from work. It felt personal. When I stepped down, Adrian was waiting for me. You really called your ex a legacy system in public, he said. I panicked. That was you panicking? Yes. He laughed and kissed my forehead. By then, Caleb was gone. 3 months later, he tried one final time. A thick envelope arrived at my office with my name written across the front in his handwriting. Inside was a handwritten letter. 20 pages. I read the first few lines. Bonnie, I know you probably hate me. I know I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. I replay that Tuesday every day. I stopped. Once, I would have read every word. I would have searched each sentence for proof that he had finally understood me, finally valued me, finally become the man I had spent 6 years waiting for. But I didn't need that anymore. I fed the pages into the shredder, not dramatically, not angrily. I simply had work to do. Later, Dave mentioned that Caleb had taken a receptionist job at a car dealership while trying to rebuild his finances. Marissa's situation had become worse. After several unrelated incidents, she eventually ended up in jail. I didn't ask for details. Their lives had stopped being part of mine. The strange thing was how ordinary my life became afterward. I woke up around 6 every morning. Adrian usually started the coffee while I checked overnight emails. Sometimes we discussed engineering problems over breakfast. Sometimes we argued about whose turn it was to buy groceries. Sometimes we sat in complete silence, drinking coffee while the city woke below us. It was unbelievably predictable, and I loved it. Caleb had spent years telling me that predictability was a weakness. He called me boring because I paid bills on time, planned for the future, worked toward goals, and preferred stability over chaos. For a while, I believed him. Now I understood that stability wasn't the absence of passion, it was what allowed trust to grow. The difference between Caleb and Adrian wasn't excitement, it was partnership. With Caleb, I had been financing the building while he stood outside, checking whether another property looked more interesting. With Adrian, we were building together. One evening, we stood on the balcony of the penthouse watching the river below. Adrian glanced at me. "You're thinking. Dangerous habit." "What about?" I smiled. "Systems." "Of course." I looked around at the home we had created. The plants Adrian kept forgetting to water, the blueprints on the dining table, my laptop beside his engineering journals, 2 coffee mugs abandoned near the railing. Nothing about it would have impressed the version of Caleb who constantly needed something new. That was fine. I wasn't building it for him. When a system is stable, I said, people usually stop noticing everything holding it together. Adrian nodded solemnly. That sounds suspiciously like a lecture. It might be. He slipped an arm around my waist. So what keeps this system stable? I looked at him. Redundancy. He frowned. Romantic. And communication. Better. And neither person actively searching for a replacement. He laughed. Very specific engineering requirement. I smiled too. But the truth beneath the joke was simple. I had spent 6 years terrified that being dependable made me easy to leave. It turned out dependability simply made me valuable to the wrong person for all the wrong reasons. Caleb hadn't respected the foundation. He had only enjoyed living on top of it. The moment I removed myself, his entire lifestyle collapsed because he had confused access to my stability with stability of his own. I didn't destroy his life. I stopped supporting it. There was a difference. And I didn't need revenge afterward. Watching him lose Marissa, lose the apartment, struggle financially, and eventually come begging wasn't the victory. The victory was reaching a point where none of those things mattered to me anymore. My life now is incredibly boring. I wake up early. I work. I have coffee with the man I'm going to marry. We plan trips months in advance. We save money. We cook dinner. We argue about bridge designs and dishwasher loading techniques. Some people hear the word predictable and imagine a prison. I hear it and think freedom. Because when the foundation is deep enough, you don't spend every night wondering whether the floor beneath you is going to disappear. The system is stable. The structure is sound. And the view from the top is exactly what I worked for. Caleb wanted fire. I chose peace. And I have never regretted walking out that Tuesday night.